In a rapidly expanding omniverse of sci-fi content, two Terrans try to make sense of it all. From the latest to the greatest to the most thought-provoking science fiction content on the screen, we bring you Crowded Space Podcast.
Welcome to the Crowded Space Podcast, Blast from the Past Dish, Total Recall, and we're episode 29. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm your other host, Jared. Yeah, so Total Recall.
Oh, and that's the 1989 version.
Thank you. I was just going to say that. Let's not mix
Not
it
the
up
other
with
one
all this
that nobody really cares
nonsense. I couldn't say it's a bad movie because I refuse to watch it.
I'm not watching it either.
Because Total Recall is a movie that is goddamn near perfect.
It is.
In terms of action sci-fi. And it gives you something to think about as well, which we will definitely dive into. But to do my quick little overcap of what Total Recall is all about,
Please do take us away.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall is about a construction worker who decides his normal life isn't enough. He wants to go to Mars. His wife doesn't, so he goes to Recall to get the memory of a vacation to Mars implanted. And that implant turns into a kind of save Mars against the evil corpo
Because he got
assholes
implanted before,
adventure.
something like that.
Well,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
and that's the big mystery, right? That's the big twist. So
I wonder if he got implanted as a worker, would you get paid for the implant you got from? Let's say, I want to be a lawyer. Okay, here's the implant. Okay, now can I get the pay because I thought I was a lawyer?
Right. Yeah. No, you're taking the whole recall technology to the next level, right? It's like, hey, if you can turn a corporal guy into a construction worker, why can't you just implant the memories and the know-how into anyone to be anything?
I need a plumber. Okay. All right, I'm a plumber now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Apparently, because they were going to turn essentially a rebel activist, his girlfriend, Melinda, in there. They're just turning her into his sex slave. So
his girlfriend?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Sex slave. It's 1989. I think it was sex slave.
1990, right?
Oh yeah, 1990.
Yeah,
that is correct.
A lot.
I'm off.
We got a lot progressive in that last year. America really turned things around from being a bunch of cokeheads to being Kurt Cobain loving
with the girls.
Rangers. Yeah. Well, so that's the briefest of synopsis, and I really skip it on the synopsis because I really want to believe that anyone who loves sci-fi has already watched Total Recall, right? It's for me. I've been looking forward to
it's a classic,
to doing this movie. It is
top-notch classic.
Yeah, it really is. It holds up so well.
Yeah, I was totally surprised.
Well, okay. I think the bane to all... I've now decided the bane to all sci-fi is the fucking CRT monitor, right?
Yeah, they can't seem to get it right.
They don't age.
They don't age at all.
The frequency refresh rate never syncs up, so you always see it kind of flickering on the movies, and they're just such a dud.
That
right?
Tandy 1000 just doesn't hold up.
Yeah. It's kind of what it comes down to. And honestly, out of that whole movie, in terms of things that kind of took me out of this wonderful sci-fi world that they created, that was it.
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah, because the cars were good.
They had so much attention to detail in creating that world. Between, the secretary touching her fingernails with a pen to just instantly turn them a different color, to kind of the cool...
the X-ray digital thing.
The X-ray
passage.
Screens.
The security.
At the
security.
The holograms, whether it's for training for tennis or for tricking your security into not shooting you. The television on the wall. I mean, that wasn't that big of an idea. That's already been done then, but it was still a nice
the
addition.
big monitors. Yeah.
Johnny Car, right? Self-driving cars, right? That's something that just now is becoming a reality, and they envisioned it. And that's one of the things what I really like about the technology in Total Recall, like the hologram. They didn't, with the special effects, they weren't trying to go for a perfect hologram. Mm-hmm. They're trying to show this technology is imperfect, right? Mm-hmm. It is glitchy.
Yeah.
And so then it makes that hold up so much better because they weren't trying for perfection. They're trying to
It's
go
just there.
for kind of realistic.
Yeah. The tech is there.
Yeah, the tech
There's
is
the
there. It's
tech.
not perfect. It's glitchy.
Yeah.
And it just added that much more nuance and
Yeah, that's why I think it fell to pieces when they put the monitor, like the computer terminals and all that, because they just, they're 1990 terminals. They're not.
Yeah,
sci-fi
yeah, they
terminals.
didn't, it's either they blue screen all the video in the whole thing or they throw in some CRT monitors. So,
Yeah.
and as far as gripes go, that's
it.
That's
really.
that's pretty nominal. Other than it's funny because this is one of the first movies we've actually sat in the same room and watched streaming.
Yeah.
In a long while. Yeah, we watched Guardians of the Galaxy together, but you can't fast forward through the 3-minute long intro.
Oh my gosh.
And that, so it's just interesting to pick up on some of your I'd probably sit through it, just like, oh, I'm gonna build myself into the movie.
Really?
But I did not begrudge you skipping through very boring 3 minutes. Like the music was pretty okay, right?
Yeah,
And it helped get us into the Total
it
Recall
did.
moment. I didn't remember the Total Recall opening song
3
whatsoever.
minutes,
It didn't invoke anything in me. I don't know if it invoked
I
anything in
don't
you.
know.
However, when they get to the strip club, I'm like, yeah, that's my jam. I know that music. I don't know why.
I saw you over there. You were jamming out.
Yeah, there's nothing like sci-fi fucking cat house music to put you in the mood for
And
three
those,
boobies.
and those 3 boobies.
Three boobies. It's such an iconic scene. And yes, I know that you're pandering to us males' fucking basic desires. Like, what is better than 2 big boobies? 3 big boobies.
I apologize in advance to any family listening to this.
Hey, if you're not comfortable with boobies, then you need help. What were some of your favorite moments in Total Recall?
Some of my favorite moments is when he figures out who he is. He goes to Total Recall. Is kind of like, your average blue collar guy going in, and I want to have a trip, and I want to forget about how crappy my life is at the moment. I want something exciting and all that. Then he goes to the Total Recall, to the place to have a vacation, put it in his brain.
But you rest assured, by the time the trip is over, you get the girl, kill the bad guys, and save the entire planet.
And then it goes all wrong, and then that's when things start unraveling, and I kind of like that sort of sci-fi-ish stuff. It definitely made it some interesting moments, just for character building for Arnold's character.
Right. Yeah. No. It's interesting because his driving motivation at the very beginning is like, I felt like I'm destined for more.
Yeah.
Right. Like
and we
just
all
this
go
job.
through that at some point in our lives.
Yeah. And so that's really interesting because it's something that we all go through, and yet if we believe that the entire thing is essentially a mental breakdown dream, then it's really interesting to think about it as, wow, he's acting on this thing that we all have, like, oh, we feel like we're destined for more.
Yeah.
And so then he goes to the fucking brain chop shop to get more.
Yeah.
And all he gets is comatose. So it's like, it's like an Icarus story. You don't fly too close to the sun. Be careful what you wish for. Or maybe, to put in other terms, like, hey, be grateful for what you do have. Like, you've got a great job. Sharon Stone's your wife. So that was kind of more of an introspective moment. Was there like a favorite kind of action scene moment for you that really stands out?
Yeah, I like the subway scene where he runs through the security checkpoint, and you can see his skeleton, and he's got a gun, and then the other people come in on one side, and you can see their skeleton there. The skeletons are kind of like floating across the screen, and then on the other side you see more, and then he jumps through the middle and crashes through, and it's just like typical Arnold. Like, you could tell it was building his action. It was like building his action career, because this and what Terminator really is the one that's set him off to. He also had Conan, but I think he had more of a chops. I would question mark a little bit better in this movie.
For sure. Yeah. No, I don't. No, I'm very confident in saying that Arnold's a very special case, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't born in this country.
It's
this
like
is not
Sylvester
even
Stallone.
his native language, right? And also he's more known for his body and his physique. So I'm willing to be like, okay, I'm going to grade you on a curve for your acting.
Yeah, you're not like.
And if you do that, I still think like Total Recall, he does, his acting never took me out of it.
No.
right? I was
No,
never
no.
like, oh, I don't believe what's going on because
Like Running
Arnold,
Man was a little like
yeah,
his
yeah,
acting was a little rough, but
right, and yeah,
but I feel like he really took on the role with this Total Recall. He really took it on.
yeah,
When
and he had his one-liners back.
We're married.
Consider that a divorce.
Right, he had some really
and
great
notice
one-liners.
one thing that wasn't there. That old stogie. Didn't see any stogies.
No stogie, no I'll be back.
Yeah, no, I'll be back. Which again, I think this is when he kind of started to, flourish as.
Oh, because there is a perfect when they were trying to wipe his memories, right, as Quaid,
yeah,
and he's like, I'll be back. Would have been pretty good, but
but they said nope.
like, no, we're not doing that.
We're not
It's been
doing
done. That's been done.
So I think the character building and not only for Arnold's character, but also for Arnold because you could see him progressing in his acting career through this. I think.
But I totally agree. Next to Terminator 2, Total Recall is
Yeah.
this best movie. Oh, there's so many good moments. But for me, probably the one to the point where if anyone even says this line, I go back to Total Recall when he's trying to go through the security checkpoint in disguise as the tall, like, white lady. The 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot hear someone say 2 weeks without that going in my head.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
It's impossible. It is impossible. I actually have to bite my tongue to not go 2 weeks. So, how did you feel about the representation of females in this movie?
I mean, they were strong. They had some moments.
There was some really great fight. There's
but
really great fights
They
in
were
between
they were
his
sexualized
pseudo wife and Melinda.
a little bit. But Sharon
Right.
Stone, like,
She brought it. And then in terms of diversity, it does kind of. I think the female representation in this was pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, the main character was a prostitute. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And she was his dream girl. And he wanted someone that was athletic, slutty, demure.
yeah.
But at any rate.
And she was
And in terms of
Hispanic, yeah.
diversity, though, I think this is where the 1990s really show in this movie, right?
Yeah,
There's one person of color that comes to my mind.
it's Ben with a cab driver.
Yeah,
on Mars.
yeah,
That was-
and he kind of
Yeah.
plays like a scum villain.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to think. Was there any like? Okay, they did have.
they had the mutants there. Does that count?
It kind of does, honestly. It
I
does kind of. It does, right?
Yeah.
and that these are people that are taken advantage of.
Mhm.
They're underprivileged. And they're a minority
Yeah.
of sorts. So
They had
in a
them.
weird kind of way,
Yeah.
it counts in the sci-fi world of telling that story, making us take a hard look at our own civilization
Mhm.
and that like, look, there are corporal assholes that are taking advantage of people
Just like now.
just like them. Yeah, exactly. There was a scene with, I don't think they ever give her a name, but essentially talking about
No,
diversity,
I don't want to offend anybody. There's nothing against us, but
yeah.
anyway, there was a person, a little person. She did a good job. She was
Right?
She,
That- she's in
she
there,
acted
she-
really well, and she kicked ass.
Right. And at no point, like, they didn't make it a big deal that she
was part of
like, she's just a person. She's just a person that
Yeah,
happened to be
yeah, yeah.
short. It
Yeah.
wasn't like they didn't make any short jokes or
yeah.
anything
it
like
was
that.
awesome.
So that
I
was
like
that was actually really refreshing.
Yeah.
But I will admit that when she stands up on the bar with a machine gun and mows down a bunch of people, it was extra cool because she was small.
Well, of course,
But
it's perception, right?
yeah. And now the special effects, like, fantastic.
Yeah, they
They're-
hold up.
There was maybe one
They're
or two
even better
scenes.
than She-Hulk. So
Oh.
see what I did there?
Episode number 1, She-Hulk. Check it out.
Check it
well,
out.
not
Maybe.
now, at your leisure. Check it
Yeah.
out at your leisure.
When you run out of episodes to listen to,
When
you
run
want to
out
start
of
again.
episodes after 12,
Go back,
Circle back.
Yeah.
to She-Hulk. But
Anyway,
what were some of the special effects that took you out?
there's
of
a
it?
lot of stop motion and animatronics. Maybe there's some of that. With, like,
with
their
the mutants and the Quado.
faces.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
faces when they're bulging
Quado
out in
and
the
all that
atmosphere.
is Yeah, because he's like, touch my hand. And he like touches his hand. You can see him like hold his hand and all that. Arnold's grabbing the little.
Oh, that was okay. They made the mistake of doing the extreme zoom up on their Quato. Yeah.
eyeball.
Yeah. No, the eyeballs were good, but it's just like the detail just wasn't there for extreme zoom
Yeah,
up. Like,
yeah, you could tell it
the
was
motion and the movement.
fakey.
The voice was like so creepily calm.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. But
loved it.
like they just did the zoom up, and I'm like,
And again,
oh.
when I first watched it, I didn't know that was the dude that had it in his chest.
yeah, no, it was
So-
great. Yeah,
So there's a couple of moments there that they really, it was well, and the music, like, we'll get there, but I'm pushing forward. But all in all, for cinematography, like using technology and all that, I think they produced it top. It was.
they created a world. They
Yeah.
painstakingly created a world.
It takes you there. It's definitely immersive with like like in the when they're underground in Mars with those massive ovens or whatever that comes down and makes the atmosphere like they really
Yeah, the reactor.
they build the architecture for that stuff. They did a good job with it.
And also, like you pointed out earlier, the world building that they did with the commercials.
So don't let life pass you by. Call Recall for the memory of a lifetime.
yeah,
A la
commercials.
Running Man and RoboCop.
there's a
Commercial
whole
for
bunch of them.
Recall, commercial for normal space travel.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't settle for pale memories. Don't go for fake implants. Experience space travel the old-fashioned way on a real live holiday you can afford.
so yeah, soundtrack like
I loved it. It was
yeah,
good.
it didn't. It was one of these
wasn't over the
soundtracks.
top.
Yeah, it never eclipsed the action on the movie.
No.
One of the things that I did actually really appreciate, it was a really weird scene. So at the very beginning, when he's kind of answering the questions,
Mhm.
final questions of what he wants his recall dream to be.
Mhm.
And it's after he's talked about, oh, and she's like, oh, what's your sexual orientation? And he's like, heterosexual. And the lady's like, interesting. Like, that's an odd choice. You know,
Yeah.
like that, like in the future, heterosexual is the minority or something like
Right.
that. And, like, I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
what
yeah.
to think about that. And you were
Yeah.
kind of like, eh? I'm like,
Exactly.
I don't know. It's just like,
We're in the 90s.
I don't
Remember,
wanna
this
throw-
is the 90s.
I don't
want
want to throw the term around, but it felt like super woke that like, oh, being heterosexual in Total Recall future is kind of weird, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, really, you are, or because he was all beefcake. She's like, oh, I thought you were gay because you're like you're
Yeah.
into your body so much. I don't know. I don't want to propagate any
I don't wanna-
stereotypes.
stereotype stuff.
unnecessarily
But it's
or
just one of
whatever,
those
but-
moments that makes
yeah,
you think.
Yeah, and I think it was a
No, good
thing.
call. That's definitely a good call there. Because we both like, huh?
So we really can't give Total Recall mark. We can give it's a push, I think, on feminism, like strong female characters.
Yeah, it definitely has those.
but They definitely played.
They over sexualized them.
They were the arm candy
The 90s.
to some extent of the lead. So
Yeah.
so that kind of evened it out. Yeah, minority representation really non-existent. Though Melinda was of Hispanic origin, so that was okay. And like you said, the mutant kind of did set up that sci-fi.
Yeah, maybe
make you
that's
think
the
about
diversity that we're
minorities.
thinking of.
Yeah,
Maybe is the yeah.
I just want to say in general, it just sent out the signal that, hey, there is a market for action sci-fi.
Not only that,
And-
but like mental like dream.
Yeah. Did
It's not
that's
your straight
interesting.
up. Oh, there's lasers, there's bad guys, there's spaceships, there's robots, and blah blah
Right.
blah blah.
Did this set up Inception? Right?
Yeah,
Did this pave
yeah.
the road for Inception?
so it's
essentially?
more of that sort of sci-fi,
Yeah,
like a
'cause
brain.
It was Inception before Inception. It was like, wait, is this a dream? Or is this real? Or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Is it a dream? Is it not a dream? That's the question. Because it kind of ends with a bright light, and it's like, is he waking up,
yeah, or well, waking up I think is the best case scenario.
or is he just done?
they're just putting him out of his misery because his brain's fried at this point, kind of deal. So because I could easily see three different scenarios. One, okay, he really is undercover, like it's all real. He really was an undercover double agent
Yeah.
kind of deal set out to get the mutants. I don't believe that. There's another scenario where the entire thing is essentially his recall trip gone wrong, right?
Yeah.
Where he's having a schizoid just breakdown, and that explains some of the stuff going on. And then the third is kind of close to the second, in which it's like, no, this is just his trip. This is just what they advertised, right? He doesn't have a mental breakdown. This is just what they're offering him,
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Down to even the technician coming into his dream to convince him that he's actually just dreaming. Like that could actually
With the red pill.
all be part of the fun.
Yeah.
So, and for me, I don't believe that it's real. I believe it's all a dream.
Really? You think it's all a dream?
Yeah, the strongest piece of evidence, and there is evidence kind of going both ways, right?
Yeah.
And like, if you believe otherwise, that's fine. Like, I think they intentionally kind of left it open.
Well, they left it open for your own interpretation, which is the best kind of sci-fi.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because if it's clear what happens, you're only going to watch it once or twice.
Yeah.
If it's ambiguous, you're going to watch it like 5 or 6 times, like I have over my life, because I'm like, wait, I want to make sure.
What about this part? Let me watch that again. Or
But for me, that Melinda, essentially, her character as Quaid is talking to the technician before they load the dream into his head, he's coming up with his, ideal woman for his dream adventure.
Yeah.
Like I said, he wants some athletic, slutty, and demure.
Yeah.
And then they show the picture of the model, and it's her. So what are the odds? Like non-existent that this recall company had this. So that's why I'm like, no, this is that, and the fact that the program that they inject into his head is called Blue Skies Over Mars.
That's a new one. Blue Sky on Mars.
Like that's what he got. Like that's how it ends, is Blue Skies Over Mars. So that's why I think it's all a dream. But the whole freaking movie is so enjoyable. It doesn't matter. Like I like talking about it. I like following the clues, but it doesn't matter because it's just so enjoyable. So. Are you more dream?
No, I'm more. He was definitely the prick that double crossed everybody.
Okay.
And because you see it, well, at the end where you see they're all buddy. He's all buddy with the villain there at the end, and it was more like to get at the, the mutants and the Quado in Mars, and then he turns it around and kind of makes his own.
Yeah, and I'd say the evidence in the movie in the favor of that is that we see scenes that don't involve Quaid. So, right, like if you're truly dreaming, usually you don't dream about things that don't involve you. So if we were really seeing that, it kind of suggests that it is real. But
I like
you can still have
exposition
exposition and dreams, and then at the same time,
it's
it's really, really hard to tell a movie where you're only showing things from the main character.
Yeah.
So that could also be a reason. So,
but anyway. So in the end, it really comes up to however you want to interpret it. It could be a dream. It could be reality. It could be like a little bit of both, which I think that's what it is for myself. But no matter what, it's enjoyable. And I highly recommend that if people want to go have a blast from the past, they should check out Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. At his best.
I would say that Total Recall, if you haven't seen the original,
oh my gosh,
and you love sci-fi,
do it.
I don't know who you are. You should have seen this movie already. But like we just talked about, there's something to chew on there.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they just create this fantastic sci-fi world that it makes you imagine what could the future be like, right? Like what are we going to have in the future? How are we going to act and behave, and how are we going to do our fingernail polish at work in the future? These little things like that just make it just so easy to go along for the ride. So if you haven't seen Total Recall, if you don't have an opinion on Total Recall is real or all a dream, I think you should watch it again. As well. So
just think about, like Jared said, just think about some moments where it opens your eyes on some situations. Is he dreaming right now, or is he not?
Yeah. There's more in there than what we just talked about. I think
plenty to unbox.
We'll just leave it at, for you all to remember that it's not the destination.
It's those it's the journey.
See you in the dream world.
Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars.